Jake here for Extreme Terrain, and today I'm taking a look at the Rough Country 3-inch upper control arm suspension lift kit with the premium M3 shocks, fitting 2010 and newer 4Runners without the KDSS or XREAS systems. If you're looking for a comprehensive way to get more height for off-roading or fit larger wheels and tires at a more budget-friendly price, you're going to want to check out this kit from Rough Country. This is a bolt-on lift kit that's going to get you 3 inches of extra height and also level out the stance of your 4Runner while maintaining good ride quality and allowing you to keep overall suspension geometry in a setup that is very similar to stock. Let's dive right in. This is a 3-inch lift, so this is going to provide you with enough clearance to run some larger wheels and tires on your truck as well. Most 33s are going to fit on here with no issue, though some more aggressive 33s may get some rubbing. It's really dependent on your wheel width and offset here, so just keep that in mind when you're choosing your setup. Now, starting out up front, you get a set of Rough Country's heavy-duty upper control arms. Now, these are forged aluminum arms, and they include new Clevite rubber bushings and new ball joints, so they're going to provide excellent absorption of road impacts. And these are actually pretty lightweight, but they have a lot of structural integrity. You can feel that they're pretty nice in your hand. So these should be able to hold up to whatever abuse you can throw at them. Now, if I stop moving this for a second, you'll probably also notice that the ball joints are angled to accommodate for the lift. So despite adding quite a bit of height in this setup, these things are going to keep things pretty close to your factory suspension geometry, which means that you're going to have really nice ride quality, and it's going to provide you a full range of motion so you can take advantage of that added height. Plus, it'll make getting everything aligned much easier. Also up front, you get a set of Rough Country's M3 premium struts. So these are going to combine with the control arms to give you 3 inches of lift up front. And as you can see, these come pre-assembled, so there's no need to mess with spring compressors, buying new top mounts, new bushings, or anything like that. You can just bolt these guys right in as they come out of the box. This is exactly how I pulled them out of the box a few moments ago. The shocks here are nitrogen charged, and they feature infinitely variable damping. So this is going to give you a nice smooth, almost stock ride quality. But these are also designed specifically for lifted applications. So the damping and rebound here are tuned to keep the ride smooth out on the road while still doing a good job of absorbing impacts and controlling that rebound out on the trail. The nitrogen charging helps with heat dissipation as well, so even under aggressive off-roading conditions, these aren't going to suffer from fade. So that again means that you can use them to their full extent without having to worry about them fading or losing control. Moving to the rear, you get a couple of things here. First is a brand new set of springs. Now, these are designed to give you some extra height and to work well with the rest of the kit. You also get a set of Rough Country's M3 premium shocks to match the ones in the struts up front, again helping keep everything under control while still maintaining good ride quality whether you're on the street or on the trail. Construction here is all quite solid. Now, as I mentioned, the control arms are made of forged aluminum for strength and weight savings. There are really no seams or welds or anything on these to break, so you can be sure that they're strong. The front struts and the rear shocks have the same 1 3/8 inch massive shock body, plus a chromed and hardened piston rod. So these are going to stand up well to the elements too. The bodies are finished in this nice silver powder coat, same here on the springs in the rear, and that's going to help with looks and durability. And of course, those front struts, like we were talking about earlier, come pre-assembled. No need to mess with the spring compressor. Plus, you get new lower bushings and new top mounts all ready to go. The rears are much the same story, just with the separate springs. So again, you get new hardware, new bushings, top and bottom here. And of course, you have those springs. Now, these springs, both front and rear, are made from thick steel and they're finished in this powder coat. You get this nice silver wrinkle coat that matches the shock bodies in the rears, and the ones up front are black. That's going to provide some additional protection, and these guys are pretty hefty, both front and rear. So overall, this is a pretty nicely constructed kit, especially considering the price. Pricing for this one comes in at about $900, and for all you're getting here, that is a really competitive price. Now, there are less expensive options out there, but they're not going to have all the features like the shocks and the control arms and things like that. Now, you could also spend a lot more on another kit, but for a truck that's going to see mixed street and trail usage, this is an excellent option. It's not leaning too far in the way of heavy-duty off-roading. It's still going to be nice and streetable, but it's going to give you that lift, so some extra clearance for off-roading or some larger wheels and tires, and it's going to make sure that it's not punishing to drive out on the street. Installation will get a 2 out of 3, and it's going to take you about 4 hours to get this job done. Now this is something you can do at home in your driveway, especially since this doesn't require you to make any modifications to your truck. Everything here is going to bolt right on in place of your stock components. You're going to take out your control arms, take out your front struts, those are all going to bolt in, and then these guys in the rear are going to do pretty much the same thing. And you don't need to mess with a spring compressor in this case either. But to be fair, this is a bit of an involved job. If you aren't necessarily comfortable disassembling suspension components, professional installation is always an option. And again, it's not going to require any modifications. So you can do this at home, and it's just going to bolt right on. So not much more I can say about it here. I've repeated that plenty. So let's go ahead and jump on out to the shop, and we'll show you how to get this done on your 4Runner.
For this install, you will need various hammers, a pry bar, air and electric impacts, a ratchet, various extensions, 17mm swivel socket, 10, 12, 16, 17, 19, and 21mm sockets, 14, 15, 17, and 19mm ratchet wrenches, 7, 17, and 19mm wrenches, needle nose pliers, vice grips, a ball joint service tool, a ratchet strap, a bungee cord, and also not shown here is a pole jack or jack and jack stands. What's up guys, today we're going to be doing a lift kit on our 4Runner, but first we're going to send you to watch a short video on how to remove your front suspension, and we'll see you when you get back.
So the first thing we're going to do is disconnect our brake line brackets. The one on the upper control arm is a 10mm bolt, whereas the one in the knuckle is a 12. So I've got my 10mm socket to start on the upper control arm, so let's get that out. So first we'll get our upper control arm bracket. So we'll take that 10mm socket to remove this bolt. Then we can pop our bracket out of the way, throw our bolt back, and then we'll switch to our 12mm socket for the brake line bracket and our knuckle. And then same thing, pop that out of the way and thread our bolt back in. Next we can remove the 18mm nut holding our sway bar end link in. So we'll grab an 18mm socket to pop that off. Next we can disconnect our tie rod end. So we'll grab a pair of needle nose pliers to bend back our cotter pin. Next we can take our 19mm socket to remove our nut. Next we can grab a hammer to tap on the side of the knuckle here to break our ball joint free. Now once we get this to pop free, we can remove our nut and get our tie rod end off to the side. Next we can loosen up our lower strut mount. So we'll grab a 19mm socket for our nut side and a 19mm wrench for our bolt side to loosen that up. Next we can disconnect our upper control arm ball joint from our knuckle. So grab a pair of needle nose pliers for our cotter pin, and then we can grab our 19mm socket to loosen up our nut. And now with our nut loosened up, we can do the same thing where we're smacking the side of the knuckle. Make sure you leave that nut on so your whole knuckle doesn't go flying once it pops free. And then we'll just pull down on our upper control arm and fully remove our castle nut. Next we can come to the top of our strut tower and remove our 3 nuts. So we'll take a 14mm ratcheting wrench to do so. Now I'm going to end up leaving this nut on there hand tight until we're ready to remove our strut. Now at this point you can repeat that entire process on the other side because we do need to be able to move our sway bar to get our strut out. Next we can remove our lower strut bolt. And then we can go back up top and remove that nut. And then we can pull our sway bar up and out of the way. And then once you have your strut out on one side, you can do that same thing on the other side.
Alrighty guys, welcome back. Now that we've shown you how to remove your front suspension, the kit we're installing is actually going to be replacing our factory upper control arm too, so we're going to show you now how to remove that. So first we're going to grab our clip removal tool and remove these two little fabric panels here so we can access our mounting bolt for our upper control arm. So now we'll go ahead and pop off all of our clips holding our panels in place. Here. This one you can take all the way off, or you can just fold it down like so. We're just going to do that. Pop this rear one off. That one you can just fold down like so. Now we have full access to everything we need. Now we can go ahead and grab our 19mm wrench and our 19mm ratcheting wrench and go ahead and loosen up our mounting bolt. Get the ratcheting wrench on the nut side here. Once it comes loose, go ahead and run that off. We'll go ahead and set our nut and washer aside. Then we'll go ahead and start sending our bolt up through into our engine bay. Now you want to keep this washer right on the control arm just so it doesn't interfere with anything. Go ahead and work that out. Now there are a few like lines and clips up in here that you can't really see but you can feel. You just got to be careful when pushing your bolt back. It will go, it just gets a little tough. Go ahead and pull that out. Pull our bolt out and we'll set our control arm aside. So now we can go ahead and install our new upper control arm. So we've got our washer still on our factory bolt here. And what we're going to do is get that just started into the forward mounting position of our upper control arm. And then we'll send our bolt back up into here. It'll take a little bit of working around to get it in there. Push that as far back as possible. Line this up. And start sending your bolt through. Get it all the way back, just like so. Then we're going to go ahead and grab our factory washer and mounting nut again. Stick that on. Get our mounting nut started. Go ahead and get that hand tight. Then you want to make sure your control arm is under your lines here because that's going to mount just like it did on the factory one on the control arm itself. And we'll pick our control arm up here. We're going to grab our 19mm ratchet wrench again, and we're just going to snug our nut down enough to hold our control arm up like so for now. See, I'm not fully tightening it, it's just enough to hold it up into place here. That gives us enough clearance to get our new strut assembly in place. So now we'll go ahead and get our new strut assembly in place. So we'll lift up on our sway bar, go ahead and fish our strut assembly up into its upper mounting point and get everything lined up and get our hardware back in place. Now you may need to push down on your lower control arm just a bit. Go ahead and get that locked in. Now we'll go ahead and get our provided 15mm flange nuts onto our strut mounting studs here. Get that back one in as well. Now we're just going to leave these hand tight for a moment and we'll get our bottom mounting bolt in place. So now we'll go ahead and grab our factory 19mm mounting bolt for the bottom here. And get that lined up. So we push down a little bit on our control arm here. Get that better spot. Go ahead and get that through. And we'll go ahead and reinstall our washer and our 19mm nut. And we'll go ahead and tighten that down. So we'll grab our 19 mil socket and extension on our impact and our 19 mil wrench. Go ahead and tighten this down. Now we'll go ahead and grab our 15 millimeter ratcheting wrench and tighten down our top mounting nuts here. I like to use S wrenches to just give you a little more articulation. Now we can go ahead and get our control arm into our knuckle. So we'll go ahead and get this up into position. We can remove our bungee cord. We can go ahead and bring this down. Once you get that on, you can grab your provided lock nut. Go ahead and get that on hand tight. Now we'll go ahead and tighten down our lock nut on our ball joint with our 21 mil socket on our ratchet. Now we can go ahead and get our sway bar end link back into place. Go ahead and reinstall our 17 millimeter nut. So now we'll go ahead and tighten that down with our 17 mil socket on our impact. Now we'll go ahead and get our tie rod back into our knuckle here. Reinstall our castle nut. Go ahead and tighten that back down with our 19 mil socket on our impact. We'll go ahead and put our cotter pin back in. Slide that in. We'll grab our needle nose pliers, bend that back to protect our threads. Now we can come back to our upper control arm mounting bolt and go ahead and tighten that down, again with our 19 mil ratchet wrench and 19 mil wrench. We'll go ahead and get our covers back in place. Pop these tabs right back in. We'll also get our backside one here. Go ahead and get that line back up. Reinstall our 12 millimeter bolt for this one. We'll grab our 12 mil socket on our impact, tighten that down. And we'll line our upper bracket with the mounting hole on our new control arm. Grab our provided 10 millimeter bolt. Go ahead and get that started. And we'll tighten that down with our 10 mil socket on our impact. Now once you have everything done for this side, you can go ahead and repeat the same process for the other side, and always refer to manufacturer specific torque setting for all of your hardware. Alrighty guys, now we're going to go ahead and get our rear suspension disassembled, and we're going to start by loosening our lower control arms here. This is going to give us more travel for our differential once we drop it down to get our springs out and then get our new springs in. So what we're going to do is grab our 19 mil socket on our impact, our 19 mil wrench, and loosen these up. Now we'll go ahead and do the same thing for the other side. Next, we're going to go ahead and remove our sway bar end links. So we're going to grab our 17 millimeter swivel socket and extension on our impact. Go ahead and pop those off. Now we'll go ahead and remove the nut from the other end link and go ahead and take these off. So now we'll go ahead and pop our end link out of our sway bar. Just grab it like so. Pop that free. Now we can go ahead and remove our lower shock mounting bolts, and we'll grab our 17 mil socket on our impact to do so. So now we're ready to get at our top mounting nut for our shock, but first we're going to go ahead and spray a little penetrating lubricant on that. Most models on most vehicles, trucks like this is one of your first places to rust, so you're going to want to go ahead and spray that down just to give yourself a head start. Probably make life a little easier. We'll go ahead and spray that first. So now to get this off, we're going to grab our 17 millimeter wrench and our 7 millimeter wrench to grab onto the actual mounting stud to hold that in place. Now sometimes the top of these studs just simply seem to slip out and kind of round off with the wrench that's supposed to hold it. So we're going to switch out to a pair of vice grips and grab onto the end of our stud, and hopefully that'll hold it in place. And you will reach a point where you're going to have to remove your vice grips. That should be the same point that it is loose enough where it won't spin your stud. Now once you get to this point, you will want to support your shock because this is the last thing holding it on. So now once we have our mounting nut off, we can go ahead and break our bottom mount free from its little stud here. Maybe even have to remove our upper washer and bushing. Sometimes these little bottom mount studs here can get stubborn, so we're gonna grab a soft mallet. We're gonna support our strut, and we're just gonna tap on the bottom mount just a little bit to get that to break loose. Then we can go ahead and remove our shock. So once you have this done for this side, you can go ahead and repeat this step for the other side. So now that we have our shocks out, we can come to our track bar here, and we're gonna go ahead and loosen this upper end. So sometimes these can be pretty tough, so we've gone and switched out to our air-powered impact. Remember, we're just loosening this end. So now we're gonna go ahead and fully remove this side. So again, use our 19 mil socket on our impact. Go ahead and remove our bolt. Set that aside. Now we can go ahead and lower our differential down. So now we're going to go ahead and pull down on our differential and remove our factory springs. May need to spin it a little bit. Go ahead. Pop that out. Then we can do the same thing for the other side. So now that we have everything out of our rear end of our vehicle, we can go ahead and start installing our new springs. Now we are going to grab the factory upper isolator from our original spring and then simply just pop right out. We're going to install that into our new spring just as it came out of the factory one. So we'll lay that in there, then we can get our spring up into place. We'll go ahead and get that up in here. Then just as the factory one, we're going to need to pull down on our differential. And you may need to lower it down some more. Get this lined up. Now we'll go ahead and line the bottom of our spring up and get our bottom coil lined up in its stopping point on our lower perch here. We'll just swap that around. Rotate that, and it should just lock right into place, just as it's supposed to. Make sure our top's lined up. And then you can go ahead and do the same thing for the other side. Now that we have our springs in, we can go ahead and install our shocks now. So we're going to assemble the upper mounting portion. So we'll start with our bottom cup. Slide that over, followed by our bottom bushing. That through. Then we can go ahead and send this upper portion up into our mounting point. Then we'll install our top bushing, our top cup, and our top mounting nut. Bushing in. You may have to squeeze down on your bushings to get enough thread shown to install your mounting nut. Go ahead and get that started. We're just going to leave that hand tight for now, and we're going to go ahead and bring our differential up high enough to mount our bottom mounting point here. Then we'll go ahead and raise our differential. So that starts to line up with our shock. May need to raise both sides to keep it even. See if it's lined up. Now we'll go ahead and get our bottom mount in position. Maybe a little bit tough, but you can work it on. Once we have that on, we'll go ahead and reinstall our factory mounting bolt. So now we can go ahead and tighten down our bottom mounting bolt here with our 17mm socket on our impact. Then we'll go ahead and tighten down our upper mounting nut. Now we can begin tightening down our upper mounting nut with our 17mm wrench. And once you have this fully tightened down on this side, you can go ahead and repeat these same steps for the other side. So now we can go ahead and get our track bar back into place now that our shocks and springs are in. Now you will notice that it is going to be a little bit out of alignment, and the easiest way to pull it back in is with a ratchet strap. So we'll go ahead and hook this to the bottom of our diff. And we're going to hook the other side to our chassis over here. Release that. Don't want to get these binded up. Always a pain. Give it some slack. Get up here to the chassis. Take that slack back out. And we can go ahead and give this some cranks. Now you do want to be careful. This is going to be under a lot of tension. Now once we get it pretty close, we can go ahead and get our bolt and use the pull of the ratchet strap to get it back in. We'll go ahead and get it lined up here. Go ahead and give a tug on our strap. That's going to allow us to get it through, and we can go ahead and get it started as well. Now we'll go ahead and use our 19mm socket on our impact to tighten this back down. And we can go ahead and release the tension on our ratchet strap. Again, exercise caution, this is under a lot of tension. Pop that, just pull it, take the ratchet strap off. Then we can go ahead and tighten up the other side of our track bar. Then we'll use our 19mm socket on our impact and our 19mm wrench. Next we'll reinstall our brake line bracket. Take that 12mm bolt out. Line our bracket back up. Locator, get our bolt back in. And we'll tighten that down with our 12mm socket on our impact. Make sure your locator. Now we can go ahead and reattach our sway bar end link. And we'll reinstall our 17mm nut. Then before you tighten this all the way down, you want to reinstall your other side just so it has a little bit more play to get the other side in. Now we'll go ahead and tighten these back down with our 17mm ratchet wrench. And once you have that tightened down, you can go ahead and tighten down your other side. Now we can go ahead and tighten down our lower control arm bolt that we loosened earlier with our 19mm wrench and our 19mm socket on our impact. And you can do the same thing on the other side. Alrighty guys, that about wraps up our review and install of our Rough Country 3-inch upper control arm suspension lift kit with premium N3 shocks for your 2010 and newer 4Runner without KDSS or XREAS systems. Thanks for watching, and as always, for everything 4Runner, keep it right here at ExtremeTerrain.com.